Hello, everyone. My name is Christine, and I'm the host here at the Hungarian Heritage Podcast, the show where we connect your modern life to your Hungarian heritage by building bridges and connecting the circles of Hungarians around us. This podcast is a place where everyone is welcome, where you don't even need to be Hungarian or speak Hungarian to join in on the fun. Each week, we will talk about all the things that we love about Hungary and Hungarian people. So, if you're looking to make that first connection to your Hungarian heritage, or if you're looking to dive deeper, then this is the place to be. Thanks for joining us today. On this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast, we will be talking about studying abroad in Hungary. If you've ever considered studying abroad, or you know someone who would enjoy a study abroad experience, you can hear all about it firsthand from my guest today, Lyna Zimouche. She will tell us all about how she chose Debrecen, Hungary as her study abroad location, what her experience was like when she arrived, and how the university helped her with the logistics. Most importantly, you will hear all about Lyna's positive experience with not only the international and Hungarian friends that she's made, but with her positive experience with the city of Debrecen itself. I would like to welcome Lyna Zimouche to the podcast today. She is from Algeria, and she is currently a study abroad student in Debrecen, Hungary. Welcome, Lyna, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, I appreciate that you said that. It's an honor to interview you. This is very exciting. So, like I mentioned, you're from Algeria, which is in Northern Africa. Tell us, out of all the places in the world to study abroad, how did you choose to continue your studies in Debrecen, Hungary?
Well, Hungary was a great surprise. If you ever told me 2 years ago that I would study at the University of Debrecen, I would have never believed you. Well, I think this whole journey started about a year ago when I received an email from Stipendium Hungarikum stating that I won the scholarship that I applied for. So you can tell it was quite unexpected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you applied for the scholarship to study abroad. Tell us about that process. Like, what was the scholarship application like?
So you have to be selected by the government first.
Okay.
And after the selection of the government, you need to take an examination with the Hungarian part.
Okay. It seems like a lot of people speak English in this program in Debrecen. So was that part of the requirements?
A lot. Yeah. The majority of students here are medical students.
Okay.
So you can imagine that like over 8,000 students are coming from different parts from the world, and they just connect with each other and they start to speak English together and get to know each other more. So it's a great experience for connecting.
That's great. So you obviously came with very good English speaking skills. Did you learn that in your studies as a child or in your earlier college experience? When did you learn to speak so well?
So my major at the university was English literature and civilization.
Okay.
So I had a huge influence in my life. Ever since I was 11, I started to listen to music and like know more about art in general. I'm a vintage girl, so I listen to Bon Jovi, Beatles. Yes.
Wow.
So this is how I got immersed in the culture. And yeah, English is now part of my life, basically.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that's how a lot of people, no matter what the age, I think that's how a lot of people become familiar with the English language because of TV, social media, movies, and both the United States and the UK are, top producers of a lot of that type of social media and movies and things as such. So I guess that's how a lot of people can practice their skills as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And music, that's for sure. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So you won this scholarship, as you said, and I remember when we spoke before this podcast that you were choosing between one or two places. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So tell me, how did you decide on Debrecen over your other options?
We had two options. My first one was Debrecen. The second one was Eger.
Okay.
So
Both
to be
Hungarian cities.
exactly, yeah. So to be honest, like Debrecen was in evidence. I felt there was something about its historical background and traditions that made it genuine.
Okay. And it seems like it's a bigger city. I know you had mentioned that aside from Budapest, it's one of the biggest cities
Yeah,
outside of the capital.
exactly. Yeah, it is the second largest city after Budapest.
Let's talk a little bit about your study abroad experience. So it seems like Debrecen is a popular study abroad location for many nations. So how did the university assist you and other students upon your arrival to help with the transition to not only a new university, but to a university that's in another country?
So, as I mentioned, the University of Debrecen is one of the most prestigious in the country, and the number of students are increasing every year. So, I had a chance to be mentored by someone here, which was actually provided by the university. So, the university has this mentorship network. They help us find a mentor through the university. So, they assign a person, and through that person, we can actually have access to anything. For example, when I came to Hungary, I remember my mentor helped me to find a taxi when I came at the airport.
Okay,
So
that's important,
yeah,
right?
very much. Yeah. He was able to connect me with a taxi from Budapest so I can get to Debrecen in the best conditions.
Wow, that's great that they provide this mentorship. So, and you got to assist in choosing that mentor, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, are the mentors generally Hungarian students or are they international students or a combination?
That is the thing that I like the most about the university is that it has Hungarians, but also international students, so we can connect with each other.
Oh, that's
So
great.
my mentor, I had two mentors. Basically, the first one was Hungarian and the second one was from Iran.
Well, that
So
makes
I
a lot
had
of
this,
sense, to
yeah,
really have a little bit of the home country and also an international student as well.
yeah. So we kind of have two different perspectives. You have the chance to connect with the culture, the Hungarian culture, and you can have that kind of feeling of being an international by connecting with another international student.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I imagine that this mentorship program doesn't just happen right at the beginning of the semester. I imagine that it continues. And so
Yeah.
tell us about some of the things that you know of so far that either your specific mentor or people that you've spoken to, what is the experience like? How do they keep connecting with you to make sure that, you're finding success both academically and socially and in society there at the university?
So first, there's like this platform. It is a mentorship network. So there are a lot of students that belong to this network, and we basically have to choose two mentors.
Okay.
And after getting the acceptance, we can get in touch with them through Facebook, which is great, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So now do you continue to connect with them now?
So now my mentor is not only my mentor, it's also my friend. So we can hang out together and have some
That's
fun.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And I
Yeah.
imagine it just like exponentially grows from there because their friends now become your friends and your friends
Exactly.
become their friends. So that's
Yeah.
great. So at least you know that there's people in the network to help you if you need it, whether it's, finding that original taxi or
Yeah.
figuring out where everything is on campus, like, a typical mentor would do at any university. That's fantastic. Let's talk about the social activities on campus. What are some of the things that you've experienced so far at the university?
So I had a chance to attend a few conferences and a
Okay.
lot of events. Like recently, I participated in one of the greatest events of the university that is called the Researchers Night. And
Wow.
I was one of the coordinator in this event. So I get the opportunity to interact with a lot of people with the Hungarian community by playing like linguistic games. So they're really involved. So there was the opening ceremony in September for the new semester. And yeah, it was my first time being in a stadium. I got a chance to meet Hungarian famous artists like Azaria and others. And
Wow.
I really enjoyed listening to their music and discovering this typical Hungarian type of music.
Wow, that's so cool. So you just jumped right in
Yeah.
and joined these things. That's fantastic because that's really how you get to become comfortable in any new environment is to participate. So you must have met a lot of people from different countries, and Debrecen
Yeah.
is a popular study abroad destination. So far, because I
Yeah.
know that the semester has just started or we're almost in the middle of the
Yeah.
semester. How many
Yeah.
other countries have you met, like people from different countries?
So my friends are coming from different parts of the globe. So there are Egyptians, Syrians, Americans, Asians, Moroccans, Tunisians, like every single nationality that you can imagine about is here located in Debrecen. So I
Wow.
feel so lucky to know each one of them. It's like going to their country and discovering about their culture while being in the same location, which is Debrecen.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure you guys also talk about like your home, when you're sitting around,
Yeah,
studying or eating, you talk about like,
yeah,
oh, well, we do this, for holidays or types of
yeah.
food. I'm sure some of you probably miss some of your home foods, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Right? I think we all do that when we're somewhere else, the things that we
Yeah.
miss. But you learn a lot that way, right?
Yeah, of course. It's the process.
Yeah, that's great. So now you've met a lot of international students. What about Hungarian students? What are some of the things that you've learned from the Hungarian students or just the Hungarian culture?
Well, I learned a lot about history in general, about music as well. Like, I can tell that Hungarians are conservative in a way, but at the same time, they really enjoy foreigners. Like, for example, my classmates are Hungarian. Some of them are Hungarians.
Okay.
And we get to interact with each other so much because they are interested about my culture and they find it so fascinating every time I'm trying to explain something in Arabic and they want to take part in that. So
That's great.
yeah, they're really involved. And yeah, this is what makes me more attracted towards the Hungarian culture. There's like this give and take relationship that is happening. And it is very important when you're trying to adapt yourself to the culture.
Yes, I certainly agree with that. I imagine a lot of the Hungarian students have been telling you a lot about their country. So, have they enticed you to want to visit other places in Hungary, like on your free time or on your vacations and things like that?
Yeah, that's true. I've been to Tokaj, which is the city of wine. It is known for that.
That's true.
With one of my Hungarian friends. So he was the one who introduced me to that culture. And yeah, the architecture was just fascinating. It was mind blowing to see how people have this passion for wine and how they take so much time to cultivate their land. It is just an art in itself.
Yeah, it is true. A very natural art, right? That's been around
Yeah,
for a long time.
exactly. People are so grounded. Like they don't think about this filter Instagram live. They're more into simplicity and the natural side. And I think it is very important.
I think that's a really good point that you just made. There are definitely a lot of people out there connected with nature and, in the wine regions that really aren't concerned about what
Yeah,
Instagram filter is popular this week. They're really
exactly.
connected to the land and their traditions.
Yeah,
And so much of us are so connected to Instagram and social media, which isn't a bad thing, but
yeah.
it's refreshing to see, the
ex-
other side of it.
Yeah, it is inspiring, especially as a student.
First of all, I love that you're there for a non-filtered experience. Like that's a
Yeah,
great way to say it.
yeah.
I feel like that should be your tagline.
Exactly.
Lena,
Yeah.
the non-filtered
Yeah.
experience. I feel
Kind
like
of.
you could hashtag that, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but it is true because many big cities, even, there's so much to unpack going to a big
yeah.
city, whether it's Budapest or New York City or, Dubai or any big city you go to around the planet. There's a ton
Yeah,
of things to unpack, but it's
yeah,
also filtered essentially
yeah,
because It's more modern, even though there could be historical buildings in the background. What's my next Instagram photo? Most people are thinking when they go to a big city.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a great way to look at, visiting these smaller locations. You do gain a lot from that. So do you have any further plans on visiting any other areas or regions in Hungary?
Well, I'm planning to go to Szeged,
Okay.
which is in the south of Hungary. So
Yes.
I'm really curious about that. Yeah, people have been complimenting the city a lot, and I have one of my Algerian friends who is studying there. So she's gonna give me a tour.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
so
Okay.
it's a nice way to discover the country.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
No,
nice way to discover the country, especially when you can do it with friends. Let's talk about some of the other clubs or organizations that maybe you are connected with. I see that you mentioned that you went to the American Corner in
yeah.
Debrecen. Tell us what that is all about, and has it been helpful for you?
So the American Corner holds a special place in my heart. It is basically a center that provides a unique experience, not only for Hungarian students, but also for internationals. So we usually have English conversation clubs every Tuesday, which I think is the best way to improve your communication skills.
Right, I agree. And practice makes perfect.
And also, I think we also have Americans coming to that corner. And it's nice to see that language is not taken for granted because it is an art that needs to be mastered.
I agree. I like your point of view about that it is an art form, language. And as a former English teacher, I appreciate that you're saying that, because it is important to understand why we say certain things, or just regional types of phrases that people use, because in any country, there's regional sayings that the people use. So that's a great way to look at it. So what other types of activities or things do you do at the American Corner in Debrecen?
So we had a lot of guests. One of them was the assistant of the baseball team. His name is Nico Segona. So he came from Budapest. So I didn't even know there was a baseball Hungarian team in Hungary.
I didn't either. This is exciting.
Yes. So he came to the corner and he basically gave us a lesson about baseball, all the basic rules. We even had those collection cards about the players.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it was like a unique experience to see him performing in front of us.
That's great. Yeah. And I guess a lot of the speakers, I imagine, speak about American themed things,
Exactly.
holidays, and, American traditions, and things such as baseball and sports and things like that. I feel like that's a great opportunity, especially for being an international student, to learn about different cultures, not just the Hungarian culture. That there's options there for the American Corner with the American culture. That's pretty cool.
So about the American Corner, we also have these movie projections either on Tuesday or Saturday. And we get a lot to watch a lot of movies. Recently, we watched Lost in Translation.
Okay.
And it was a great movie that I've never seen before, and I regret it. So we made a certain type of perspective. We had the opportunity to watch Lost in Translation, and we get to make a lot of comments and have a pretty general perspective about the movie.
That's great.
Yeah, so we're making comments, we're giving some feedback, which I think is important when you watch something to have the other's point of view.
I agree. And I think it was probably a great movie to watch because of the theme of Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure there were a lot of points made that people could connect to after watching that movie.
Yeah, I feel I can relate myself to that movie. At the same time, you're like lost in the country. You don't know the language, but then you find a way to get through it, which was my way.
Exactly. So that was a good movie to start off the semester with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure that they plan that to make the international students feel more comfortable as well. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about, what are you studying at the University of Debrecen? What's your goal for being there?
So I'm studying applied linguistics and communication science.
Wow.
So Yeah, so I'm planning to become a language analyst.
Okay.
So analyzing speech communication.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but my goals are not really fixed because I always wake up with new ideas in my mind. So I guess the future will tell us more about my
Of
goals.
course. Well, I feel like if you should have goals, but you should also be open to new opportunities that that goal can offer to you. And I feel like if we picked our goals in college and in our master's program and never changed it, then I don't think that that would be a healthy way to live. You always have to
Exactly,
be open for new opportunities. So,
that's
what
true.
type of job
Hmm.
would an applied linguistics communication science afford you? What type of job would you want to have with that degree? Would you work internationally? Tell us
Uh-huh.
about what your current goal is, even though it could change.
So I'm planning to work in an international organization or something that is related to communication and media.
Okay.
So this was my purpose at first, but then I realized that I have more to offer. So
It's
maybe it can change.
a good stepping
Yeah, I
stone.
want to work in the international spectrum.
That's great. Well, being an international student, you're definitely off in the right direction. Are you finding that your classes are fun? I'm sure they're challenging. What so far has been one of your most interesting classes that you've taken?
I think one of the most interesting classes that I've taken is the one with an American. Yeah, it was with an American professor
Okay.
recently. Yeah, he was actually a guest in our lecture. So he came all the way from America to give a brief introduction about the history of English.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
so fascinated because he used to teach here in Debrecen
Okay.
and he was the instructor of my current professor.
How amazing that he was able to come back and present in one of his students.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to learn a lot about the English patterns back in the Middle Ages. And
Wow.
yeah, I drew some kind of reflections. And like now I can understand why things are said the way they should be said.
That's funny. When you said English back in, did you say the Middle Ages, you said? It gave me
Yeah.
some like heart palpitations because I did some of that in college and sometimes it was fun and sometimes it was stressful.
Yes, exactly. So we got to learn about Middle English and
Okay.
Old English. It is actually challenging to know the language of Chaucer or
Yes.
Shakespeare. It is really hard because it is originated from Germany and English is a Germanic language, which is a
Yes.
challenge. And you really have to decipher everything and encode everything.
Exactly. And some people may not understand, but language, no matter what language it is always developing and changing.
Yeah, it is dynamic, like it is constant change through time.
It is true. The English language has developed a lot in the past few
Yeah.
hundred years.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's exciting that you were able to, see a former professor give a lecture in your current
Yeah.
professor's class, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. So now you're in Debrecen and you're at the university, but
Mhm.
the city itself must be pretty amazing with restaurants and clubs and outdoor activities and concerts. What have you been able to experience so far in the city itself? Tell us about that.
Well, I get to travel in multiple countries in one single location.
Okay.
So we have, for example, an Italian restaurant called the Bonita Bistro. They
Mhm.
have excellent pizza. And I wanted to taste, when I was in Algeria, I wanted to taste so bad Korean food, but I didn't get the opportunity. So when I came to Debrecen, I've seen that Korean restaurant in front of me, and I just went there. And yeah, I tried. It was my first time trying Korean food, and I wasn't disappointed because it's one of my favorite now.
Yeah, who knew, like you said, 5 years
Exactly.
ago that you would taste Korean food for the first time in Hungary, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So it's funny because, people study abroad in places and you're studying
Yeah.
abroad in Debrecen, and it's really offering international students so much about the Hungarian culture and Hungarian food, but it's
Yeah.
also offering international experiences as well. What else about the city has been amazing for you? Like, have you been on trams or buses? Like, what's there that has been really cool?
I think that the tram is the best experience because I didn't get the chance to get lost yet.
That's good.
Yeah, it is very much oriented towards a very specific direction. So we only have two trams here.
Okay.
There's the Asia tram, the university one, and there's the Doberdo Utsa. So the first one goes to the university and the second one goes to the other part of the city.
What are some other things that you've seen in the city that maybe you didn't get to try yet, but you're looking to go to or try, or restaurants?
I really want to try this Indian restaurant called Kashmir. Everybody has been praising it.
Okay.
And I didn't get the chance to go yet because I was busy, but yeah, it is my next one to visit.
That's great. Well, you are studying, so you do have to make time for that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So have you tried any Hungarian food?
Of course.
Tell us
Yes.
what you've tried, what you've liked.
Oh my God. I can't even remember. I've tried so many, but I can tell that the langosh was my favorite.
Oh, of course. Langosh is
The
a fan
langosh.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like a huge donut and stuffed with so much garlic and sour cream.
Yeah.
And it was so delicious.
It is
And
delicious. I think it's like one
yeah,
of the top foods that people
exactly.
enjoy.
Yeah. And also there's this tururudi that I love so much.
That's famous. That's a very famous like
Yeah.
candy bar. So tell us about the Turo Rudy.
So it is actually considered as a Hungarikum, which means it is part of the Hungarian traditions.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that Kinder bar. It's like another version of Kinder, but it has a different taste. I can tell what it is, but it is really
Yeah.
tasteful.
Like the
Yeah.
inside, it's not what you think a candy bar is going to taste like. Like on the
Yeah.
inside, it's almost more of like a cream cheese, right?
Yeah.
Like more savory, not necessarily sweet, but it's covered in
Yeah.
chocolate. So it's an
Yeah.
interesting experience.
And I've heard that the recipe was actually kept in secret, which makes it more interesting because
Ooh.
nobody knows about it. Yeah.
Well, that's how usually good things stay good, because the secret is kept within the company or the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
great. So, any
Um,
other foods that have really struck
um,
a delicious chord with you?
the goulash levesh.
Oh, yeah.
I love that one. Yeah, it was so tasty. I still remember the taste in my mouth. But it was a mixture of a stew and similar to Algerian stews, but
Okay.
there was something with paprika that makes it more like original.
Yeah. Paprika makes
Yeah,
everything taste better, right?
exactly. Yeah, paprika is like a staple here in Hungary. Like
Yeah,
everybody adores paprika.
exactly. So, have you tasted anything with cabbage in it?
Yes, I did. I just loved how the flavors are blending with each other, and it just makes a whole different dish.
Yeah, I have to say that I know I am Hungarian, but the food is amazing. And it's
Yeah.
definitely, you're making me hungry, actually. I think talking about all this food. Let's talk about your passions, Lena.
Um,
Let's talk about your photography. On social media, you're like motivating, giving daily
mhm,
motivations and
mhm,
being outdoors and the climate. I see a lot of great things coming from your social media platform. Tell us about those passions, because I feel like you're trying to grow that
mhm.
part of your passion as well, in addition to your
Yeah.
studies. So tell us all about that.
So photography was always a tool to express myself. So it is a special way to bond with people. Yeah, because I grew up as an introvert and I always felt that something was missing and photography was able to fill that part.
That's
So,
great.
yeah, I felt that I had a chance to make more connections and being more open-minded and outgoing when photography came in my life.
Yeah, that's
This
great.
was
And I feel like that's a really great point, because maybe someone that isn't as social when they're younger, the photography is a good connecting piece. So you don't
yeah.
necessarily have to speak right away to people,
Yeah.
but your photography can speak to people. And that opens the doors for learning to be, or feeling more comfortable
Yeah.
speaking with people. And I'm sure that that's
Yeah.
definitely brought you out of your shell.
Yeah. Yes.
So what do you love to take pictures of the most?
Uh, Basically nature.
Okay.
Nature and very like vivid moments when someone is performing because he's like expressing his passion. And
Right.
I got to see this in Sting's concert
Yes.
recently. I
Yes,
went to
I know. I
Sting's
saw that you saw Sting, which was pretty
yeah.
amazing that he was in Debrecen. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was in Sting's concert and it was an amazing experience because he's like one of my favorite idol.
Wow.
And I saw him live in front of me and he gave me his tuning fork.
Wow.
And yeah, I was like amazed and shocked at the same time. I couldn't believe my eyes that I was watching my idol performing in front of me.
First of all, I love the fact that you feel that Sting is one of your favorite musicians because he's technically from my generation.
Yeah.
And so like that's really cool that he appeals to, not only, the generation where he started out, but also the younger generations as well.
Yeah. So at the same spot, I was able to express my passion for music and I got to take a lot of pictures of Sting. And yeah, it was an amazing opportunity to take some shots there.
You're definitely motivating people on
Yeah.
your platform. So what's that all about? What are you trying to do with your daily motivations?
So as I told you, I grew up as an introvert person. So when I came to Hungary, some people and places inspired me to the point where I started to draw a different perspective. I started to give more value to life, and I started to fight my anxiety because I was feeling bad so far from my hometown.
Right.
And yeah, so the simple things of life, which is making me happy, like going to Nagyerdő Park or going to any other spot, is just bringing me so much happiness. So I'm trying to tell people that you can find happiness in the simple things that are in front of you. You don't have to look further away. And it is important to stay grounded and to stay like faithful to yourself, no matter the country, no matter the consequences. It is very important.
Yeah. And I think you probably are helping people realize that it's okay to have a bad day because
Yeah,
tomorrow
exactly.
could be a great day. You just have to get through it because that's what life is. So that's kind of like a big question. So how have you grown as a person while studying abroad in Debrecen among Hungarians and other international students? What have you noticed about yourself?
Well, I started to have a different perspective of life. I grew up as an adult. I came here as a young 20-year-old girl. And when I came to Debrecen, I got to experience what life of an adult is like, which is having responsibilities and having commitments and running errands and going to places that you have to go in order to fulfill a certain activity. So I've really developed a self esteem for myself. I developed my confidence. I've got to meet some people that inspired me. I've met some ambassadors that
Wow.
I got to talk to at the Department of English Studies. And yeah, they just gave me another perspective of life and how I can make myself better day by day. So
Right.
I grew up a lot by coming here. Yeah.
Right. And you probably knew that you were going to have to do all of these things when you accepted, the scholarship to study abroad. But until you actually do them and realize that, well, yeah, I have to figure out how to get from here to there or how to do my laundry. I'm not saying that you didn't do your laundry at home, but,
Yeah.
it's just being independent
Yeah.
is even more important when you're studying abroad. And you definitely grown since then.
Yeah, you'll only have to discover yourself when you really live abroad. This is
Yeah.
the best experience I've ever got in my life. Traveling abroad has opened so many doors for me, professionally speaking and personally likewise. And yeah, just able to discover another part of my personality.
Yeah, that you didn't even know was there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
right?
didn't know I
Yeah,
was ambitious. I didn't know I was ambitious that much up until I came here.
right. It's amazing what an experience like this can do for people. You know you're going to grow because you're living somewhere else, and you know you're going to mature because you have to do these chores or tasks on your own. But until you're there, and experiencing it, you don't realize how fulfilling that can be to be an
Exactly.
independent young woman or young man fulfilling your
Yes.
dreams at the same time. So
Yeah.
let's talk about how you stay motivated because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you seem like a super positive person and you're having a great experience. And you've said so many amazing, uplifting, and positive things, but I'm sure that there's probably moments where you're homesick or you
Mm-hmm.
miss your friends.
Yeah.
And you question yourself whether, am I doing the right thing? Should I have moved so far away from my home? What do you do
Mhm.
to, get yourself out of that negative thinking when that happens?
Well, I usually go to Nagyerdő. It is one of my favorite spots. I just take some time to question myself, to relax, and I'm in my own bubble when I'm
Okay.
there. I just take time for reflection, to listen to music, and really connect with myself and stay out from all the negative thoughts that could ever cross my mind. So I know that some things are wrong and some things are bad that I'm experiencing right now, but it's just another step for improvement, I guess.
Right. And it's probably not bad. It's just challenging, right?
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
another challenge you have to
Yeah,
face, but that's
yeah,
normal.
exactly.
That's life, right?
Yeah, this is the beauty of life.
I feel like you have a good perspective that if you are having moments of doubt or feeling homesick for your family and friends, you take a little time to yourself. And I think people don't realize that having a little alone time is a good thing to reflect.
Yeah,
And you seem to have realized that that's a good way to recenter yourself so that you could
yeah.
go forward in a positive way. When we first spoke, you
Mhm,
mentioned that life is short and, studying abroad is such a great experience. And I remember having that conversation with you.
mhm,
What
mhm,
would you say to
mhm.
someone who is thinking about studying abroad in Debrecen or anywhere else? What words of encouragement would you have for that person to go for it? Like, what could you tell them that would hopefully persuade them to take the leap
Uh,
and study abroad?
I would tell that person to not rethink it, do it. Because when you start to doubt something, you are actually implementing a negative idea in your brain. That is the idea of discomfort, which we are trying to avoid after all. So I'm telling that person to go for it, to push off your limit, and to not be scared about anything that life has to offer because it is part of the process. And you'll get an idea about how life is beautiful and what are the things that you can do to improve your current situation.
Wow. That is so well said. I feel like you have such motivating words to
Mhm.
use as a young adult, which I think sometimes people don't start to say until they're older. I feel like you have a very motivating
Thank
personality.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
And I
you.
think you're going to really go far with your
Thank
studies
you.
and your passions and your goals, but also having this positive, influencing, motivating personality. I think it's not only going to help you in your future, but I feel like you're going to help other people with this personality as well. You should feel very proud of yourself for experiencing the things that you're experiencing.
Thank
And
you.
I think you're definitely going to help other people. I feel like you have so much to offer
Yeah.
as a student, as a future person out in the world, and just as a friend. And especially if anybody studies abroad in Debrecen, I feel like they're going to get some good information by following you on your social media and by listening to what you had to say on this podcast. Is there anything else you want to leave us with today, Lyna, about your experience or anything motivational you want to say? You have the floor. Tell us what you want to say.
I want to tell everyone to live your life. Don't listen to what others have to say about you. Just live your passion and do the things you want to do.
So I feel like you're a great spokesperson for the
Mm.
University of Debrecen as far as why people should come and study abroad there.
No, thank you.
If people want to follow you on your social media platforms, which of course I'll leave that information in the show notes, how can they
Uh-huh.
follow you, Lyna?
You can follow me in captureit.lina.hu on Instagram.
Okay. I will put that in
Yeah.
the show notes. And follow along because Lyna has lots of motivations and she tells us about all the great things that are happening as a
Thank you
study
so
abroad
much.
student in Debrecen. And thank you for being here today, Lyna.
Thank you so much for featuring me in your podcast. It is an honor.
Oh, well, it's an honor for me to interview you and learn all about your experience. And I hope that other people take all the things that you said into consideration and take that leap, and possibly studying in Debrecen could be the first step for people. Thank you, Lyna.
Thank you so much, Christine.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and after listening to Lyna's positive experience with studying abroad in Debrecen, maybe you or someone you know might want to take the leap and study abroad too. It's a great way to grow as a person while studying for your future, and it's a great way to make a stronger connection to your Hungarian heritage, especially if you've never been to Hungary before. For more information about studying abroad, you will find some websites in the show notes about studying abroad, not only in Debrecen, but in other locations in Hungary as well. You can also find Lyna's social media handle in the show notes too, so don't forget to give her a follow on Instagram so you can continue to follow her positive journey while studying abroad in Debrecen, Hungary. Thanks to my audio editor, Tori Irvin, for working her audio magic on this episode. Our theme music is Hungarian Dance by Pony Music, used with a special license from Envato Market. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts so we can continue to connect our modern lives with our Hungarian heritage. Until next time, goodbye everyone. Sziasztok mindenkinek!